So welcome back. It's a tropical 4 degrees in the garage tonight, so it's a lot nicer than it was the other day. Tonight I'm going to get the engine prepped so I can look to start it tomorrow. So top transmission oil up, engine oil, various cables to connect. So first job, transmission oil. So the problem we're faced with is how do you get 10 litres of oil in the gearbox, or approximately 10 litres of oil, down that little fill pipe which is recessed all the way down there. Now what you need is a nice long tapered funnel. Well, found a machine mark, a nice long funnel. It was £7.19 including VAT. Just the job. Looks like one of those horns that they use. I can't remember what it was called. Was it called, I want to say Isuzu, but that's not right. Isuzu, whatever it was, at the football match. Do you remember when they were all the rage a while ago and everyone was blowing on them and making a horn? Let's give it a go. Yeah, that's annoying. So also comes with these smaller little funnels which clip onto the drum. So I'm going to try those on there, see it works. I'm going to get about 5 litres in, I think, just enough. Once I've got it up and running, I'll check the level then. So I'll get the oil in. I'm not going to film myself doing that because that's really boring, and I'll come back to you in a minute. Well, a bit of feedback on the funnel. I think for £7 you can't argue that you get a funnel and 2 of these devices that clip on the 5 litre drum, so it prevents it surging and splashing out. So I've filled it now, but you can just pour it in like that, and to be honest, it's probably the first time I haven't got a drop of oil anywhere but where I wanted it to go. So I'd say for £7, good investment, good to keep on the shelf for future use. A little tip here for battery terminal connections: if you find that the cross section of your cable is too small for the actual clamp, like this one where the screws are all the way down, you can see that it actually moves. In fact, I could probably pull it off. In fact, I have pulled it off there. So what you can do is get some fuel line like this. I think this is probably 6mm fuel line. Is it written on it? 5/16 fuel line. Just get a section of that, cut it off. The length of that, so I don't know, 30mm, something like that. Slice it down the middle, put it over the copper cable, and then use that to clamp down on. I'll cut a bit off and show you. You can see the copper tube in place there. You can see the fact that I've got it nicely clamped down. The screws aren't bottomed out, nice and tight. So I can get that in there now, do the same on the positive terminal, and then we're ready to go on the battery. So before I connect the negative on the battery, I want to address some of this wiring which is a little dodgy. This is the main fuse board. You can see the fuses probably need a bit of a clean up. There's a little bit of corrosion on the terminal, so I'll clean that first. And there's some wiring in the back where basically someone's crimped it and the wires have just pulled out, so I need to have a look at that. I need to have a look at the wiring diagram as well and try and work out what's going on the fuses. I've printed a wiring diagram off here. But I'll be honest, I think someone at Dodge must have been on drugs when they wrote this. I've never seen anything like it. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Struggling with the focus on this a little bit. There we go. Look, you've got a point here, black. I mean, for a start, this is on the feed side, so this is a group feed. This is a group feed here to these 3 fuses. This is black. Black's negative in my world. That's crazy. You then come down here to this meeting point or collection point or whatever you want. It then breaks off into a black and a pink. I mean, it's just crazy. You've got up here, you can't see, but on the back there's the ammeter. So the red is the feed to the ammeter, the black is feeding back from the ammeter. Comes down here again, meets up, breaks off into a black, a red and a violet, and a red with a trace in it. I mean, it's just crazy. You just want to keep the colours consistent. Anyway, I'm going to clean these fuses up, see what I can do, see if I can get some power to the ignition, and take it from there. what I want to do is go through some of this wiring and try and tidy it up. There's the odd terminal here, which has obviously been powering something in the past, which I need to sort out what it is. There's these two leads here that I need to sort out. There's a wire over there you can see with some insulation tape on it. Generally tidy it up. I don't know if you can see down here on this grip, you can see it's moulded, this spiral wrap's moulded just to this one wire down here. Now this wire, this blue wire, seems to feed all the way down here to the fan. Now what I'm thinking is that the wire is probably not correctly rated, and again the feed for it is going all the way back inside, all the way onto the fuse board. It's just doubled up on a piggyback crimp. It's this blue wire here. So I think what I might do is take this out and take it from a feed, put a few inline fuse in, feed it from there. It doesn't need to go all the way in the car to come back out. So we just need to tidy this wiring up, find out what all these feeds are. These, I found out what they are already. To actually, if you look at the wiring diagram here, you've got violet, which is the temp gauge, and you've also got grey, which is the sender unit for the oil pressure sender unit. Now that makes sense because the oil pressure gauge sender has been removed. There's an oil pressure gauge inside, and the same with the water temp on the manifolds. There's a different one that's been installed. And inside the car you can see, instead of having the oil light and the temperature gauge on the dashboard, let me just get a light inside, so you've got the original temp gauge there and the oil light that would come on there when the oil pressure is low. When I got the car, it had a cluster of instruments inside, so it had these where you've got fuel gauge, you've got a rev counter, and somewhere lying around in here I've got a round speedometer, which you can't see at the moment. But I didn't like those. They were in a cluster in the dashboard all across here, like an aftermarket cluster, and it was just awful. The old dash was in the boot. Managed to get this off the A-Body forum for a complete new dash off someone, and I've gone through that and got all that nice and cleaned up and painted up. But what I have done, I've decided to keep the additional gauges for the voltmeter, the water gauge and the oil gauge there. And you can see there, I've got the, I'm going to turn the ignition on now, I've got the volt gauge going on, so it's reading 12 volts. I'll put the battery on charge tonight, ready for Chris coming around tomorrow. So I just want to tidy the wiring up, and again that's the blue wire there that I believe is the feed, the feed to the auxiliary fan someone's fitted in, and they just slaved it in there, run the wire pretty badly through here, round down there and through that hole in the bulkhead. So I'm going to tie that up, refuse it from underneath the bonnet. Now I've identified these wires are for the oil line and the water sender unit, I want to just cap them off rather than leaving them open. I think it's a bit untidy just leaving them like this. So what I've got these little caps here, I can just crimp on the end of the wire so I know it's completely electrically isolated and there's no possibility of anything shorting out. So I'm going to crimp those onto the grey and the violet coloured wire. Whoops, lost that now. Maybe I'll have to find another one. I'm going to crimp those on the end and then lie the wires neatly in the loom across there. Okay, so I think I'm ready to fire up. I've topped the transmission up, checked the engine oil. I need to top up the radiator tomorrow, that's leaked off. Battery's going to be on charge later. Tidied the wiring up, as in any stray cables which could have been shorted out have been checked out, capped or removed. Still obviously need to physically tidy it up and put it in a nice loom wrap later on, but that can come later. Got the plugs out, so I've cranked the engine over and get some compression up on the oil pressure, which I've done that. I'll show you that in a minute. Probably need to get some fuel tomorrow, some fresh fuel, because it's not run for couple of years, so I'm sure that's going to stale now. So I think we're ready really. Got on my list, basically fill the transmission, or I've put a 5 litres in, so that's a starter for 10 to get it up and running. So I probably need to buy some oil tomorrow. I've not done the gear linkage pin, but that doesn't really matter to run the engine tomorrow. The wire the oil light now, I can't do that because I've got the oil pressure gauge, so don't need that. Set the ignition timing, I've set that to 0 degrees, so that's done. Earth leads fitted, tidy the plug leads up, again not really necessary. Gone through the cables, fitted the battery. So basically all I need to do is get the engine running, top up the water, top up trans, and hopefully this engine investigation for the vibration will have gone. Rather, what I should say is the cause of the vibration with the unbalanced flex plate should have been solved with the BMM 150. Okay, so I've tidied the loom up. Probably doesn't look completely like it, but I've got rid of the cables that were coming along here, going down underneath the steering column and through the grommet down it here. So I had a run of cables down there, so it's tidied it all up. Now actually neatly going through the hole that was already there inside the bulkhead, and inside it looks a lot tidier now. So I've got rid of this myriad of cables that was going round the accelerator cable, round the brake cable. The fuse box was hanging down here, that's back up in the right place now, and I've run the cables a bit neater to the gauges, so we're looking good from that point of view. Next thing I want to do is see if I can get a spark from the ignition, so I know I've got spark and fuel. At the moment I know I've got oil pressure, so let's see if we can get a spark. If I leave that resting like that, turn the light off, crank it over, let's see if we get a nice spark off the spark plug. Right, so just to finish with a little bit of excitement, we've got some dash lights now. I don't think you can see that really, or you can just. So they're lighting up. Crank the engine over. Hopefully we'll see some oil pressure come up on here. So there, so we've got oil pressure, we're ready to go. Leave the battery on charge for tonight. So that's on charge, we're ready to go. Oops. Make sure I don't lose that down the radiator. Right, so I think we're ready to go. Where are you, Chris? Let's get you here tomorrow. I dare say there's going to be a few more dramas tomorrow. Wouldn't be surprised if any of these fuel lines have perished. I mean, even if I get it running tomorrow, I'm going to replace these anyway, because it's not just worth taking the risk. I'm also a bit unsure about the routing of this cable here, really running down the valley. I can put some fireproof wrap around it, but I'm just sure long term I think these cables are just going to work hard, and so I think I'm going to reroute these round here and run them up the bulkhead down there, and take it out the valley, just tidy it all up. So until tomorrow, fingers crossed it'll run.